Good morning. It is a little bit after 10 o'clock on today, Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. We are at 901 Main Street in Conyers, Georgia, and I would like to call this meeting of the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners open. On the first order on the agenda is special recognitions and presentations. Do we have any today?
No, we do not have any this morning.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the agenda review for Tuesday, April 12th, 2022.
And Madam Vice Chair, if you would like, I'll go right into the first item, item 159.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just continue until I'm interrupted. If that's all right?
That's
okay.
Perfect.
So the first item, item 159, is actually a public hearing relative to a resolution of intent in compliance with the provisions of Official Code of Georgia Annotated, Title 36, Chapter 9, Section 36-9-3, A3D, and all related laws for the exchange of real property. Next Tuesday, we will have this resolution on the agenda, and we will also allow any public comment if there's any about the land swap that we're doing with the land over near the monastery for the Oglesby Bridge parking lot. So,
thank you.
Okay, that was my question. Was it for that parking lot?
Yes,
so yes,
that's correct.
Okay.
Item 160 is with Autism Speaks Incorporated through the Parks and Recreation Department. Swimming for Everyone grant in the amount of $3,314 is for 12 months, and it's a ratification. Item 161 is with I Productions Incorporated through the Parks and Recreation Department. This is for the use of Earl O'Neill Sports Complex for parking. It's revenue in the amount of $6,100. The term was March 7, 2022 through March 11, 2022, and this is a ratification. Item 162 is with Snapping Shoals EMC for the Parks and Recreation Department. This is for the Johnson Park Dog Park pole light in the amount of $44.25 per month. It's for an indefinite term as long as the street light remains in place. Item 163 is with the Daily Policy Group for the Board of Commissioners Office. This is for federal legislative services in the amount of $7,000 per month. It's for 1 year with automatic renewals for 2 additional 1-year terms. Item 164 is with Dr. Arkla T. Allen, doing business as AGAPE Compliance and Professional Development, LLC, for the Fire and Rescue Department. This is for the Fire Rescue Accreditation in the amount of $15,000, and it's through January 31st, 2023, with option to renew 3 additional terms. Item 165 is with TNT Uniform South Incorporated. This is for the Fire Rescue Department for fire uniforms. It's change order number 1 to contract 2021-77. It's a unit price increase for item numbers 1, 4, and 5. This is to renew the contract term through May 24th, 2023. Item 166 is with Gas South LLC for the General Services Department. This is for the natural gas for the West Avenue property in the amount of almost 30 cents per therm. Got me on that one. 0.295 per therm. Sorry.
And that's for the Board of Elections, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I keep trying to remind people that not to go to Parker Road.
Yes.
For the election in May, that it's at the West Avenue properties.
Thank you. Item 167 is with Crowdsource and Associates LLC Incorporated for the General Services Department. This is for the tennis center lighting upgrades in the amount of $218,538.60. It's for 60 days from the notice to proceed, and it's SPLOST funded. Item 168 is with the Path Foundation Incorporated for the General Services Department. This is the master agreement for the master plan, design, and manage the construction of the trails. It's no cost initially, then task orders are utilized. This is for 5 years. Item 169 is with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources to the Environmental Protection Division. This is for the Water Resources Department. It's an expedited enforcement compliance order in the amount of $28,516. It's a one-time payment.
Could we get an explanation on that? I noticed that some of it is, we had a state of emergency in 2021 because of heavy rains and flooding.
Absolutely. Deputy Director.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner. Sorry, both of you.
Good morning.
Yeah, so this compliance order is actually dates back to 2018. So it does deal with some of the heavy rains and things like that. It also deals with some of the oil and the debris that we have in our infrastructure that sometimes commercial or industrial or residential people are putting in there. So we are upping our campaign to remind people on how to handle our sewer. Ultimately, we're responsible for it. So this is what this is for.
So you're saying one of the things that is contributing is people pouring the oil down there. I'm sorry, people pouring the oil down their drains?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Is that all?
Yes.
So we are working on compliance with that.
Yes, ma'am, we are. And we already have literature out there, but we're upping it, we're updating it to make sure that everyone's aware of how to handle our infrastructure so that we can have it for as long as we can. So,
Okay.
all right?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Item 170 is with Go Forth Williamson Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is to remove, rebuild, and install 2 service pumps at High Tower Pump Station in the amount of $34,287, and this is 180 days from the notice to proceed. Item 171 is with the Association County Commissioners of Georgia through the Talent Management Department. This is for the Defined Benefit Retirement Contribution Amendment. It's a requirement from the IRS every 5 years to restate the contribution plan, and this is submitted for ratification. Item 172 is with the Judicial Council of Georgia for the Superior Court. This is for the state ARPA grant. It's for backlog cases in the amount of $1,968,000. The term is March 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and this is a ratification. Item 173 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the Superior Court. This is for the Resource Court. It's a grant. It's change order number 1 to contract 2021-83 to add $13,108. The term is April 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, and this is a ratification. Item 174 is with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council through the State Court. This is for the DUI Court Supervised Treatment Program. This is a grant, and it's change order number 1 to contract 2021-81 to add $4,800, and the term is April 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, and this is a ratification. Item 175 is with Axon Enterprise Incorporated through the Sheriff's Office. This is for tasers. Year 1 is $32,854.88. Years 2 through 4 is $32,854.86. It's a total of $131,419.46, and it's a 4-year program. Item 176 is with Manatron Incorporated. This is for the Technology Services Department. It's an upgrade to the VCS tax system for Tax Commissioner's Office. It's change order number 1 to contract 2011-84 in the amount of $9,860. It's a one-time fee, and this is host funded. Item 177 is with the Pittman Construction Company through the Transportation Department. This is for the SPLOST 4A roadway rehabilitation and resurfacing in the amount of $14,147,105.66. This is for 12 months, and it's SPLOST funded. Item 178 is a requisition through the Transportation Department for QK4 for CEI services for Rockbridge Road replacement in the amount of $167,505, and this is SPLOST funded. Item 179 is a requisition through the Transportation Department. This is for Atlas Technical Consultants, LLC. This is for the post-design engineering services for Rockbridge Road replacement in the amount of $23,000, and this is SPLOST funded. Item 180 is a requisition through the Stormwater Department for benchmark management to provide stormwater with plan reviewing services for commercial and residential site development projects in the amount of $120,000. Item 181 is a requisition through the Rockdale Water Resources for CERM. This is for Rockdale Water Resources engineering staff augmentation support for 2022. The term is February 11th, 2022 through February 10th, 2023 in the amount of $610,000. Item 182 is a requisition for the Water Resources Department for CERM. This is for the Water Sewer System Asset Inventory Program for 2022 in the amount of $150,000. Item 183 is a requisition for the Parks and Recreation Department for Place Services Incorporated to supply and install new pool lighting at Johnson Park in the amount of $75,442.45. This is SPLAST funded. Item 184 is a requisition for the Technology Services Department for Cambridge Computer Services Incorporated. This is for one-year renewal of the antivirus software Silence Protect Plus Optics in the amount of $22,100. Item 185 is an expenditure request for the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District for water resources for the 2022 dues based on 25 cents per capita from the 2010 census population in the amount of $21,303.75.
So I'm not complaining, but why are they not using the 2020 census?
Maybe, I'm not sure. Not sure if it wasn't available at the time or what.
Well, it's okay.
Yes, we should take it. Yeah, well, we can ask them and get it back with you if you'd like.
Yeah, so they do typically go back into the census. When they did this, the 2010 was available, and that's what they used to calculate these funds. So it's required for all the utilities in the planning district, so yeah.
Thank you.
Great question, though, Commissioner.
Well, I was just glad it was
Okay.
the 2010
Yeah.
census,
I am too. All
but it was, okay.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Item 186 is an expenditure request for flock safety for the Sheriff's Office. This is for the flock cameras maintenance in the amount of $16,000. Item 187 is a request to surplus equipment from the General Services Department and the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. Item 188 are the amendments to the Rockdale County Employee Classification and Pay Plan, and Executive Director Tony Holmes has a presentation to go along with this item.
Good morning, Madam Commissioners. We'll give it a second for our presentation to come up. Before that comes up, I am going to go ahead and start talking about one of the items that's included with the amendment is, in addition to the market study, which we're about to talk about, I'm super excited to talk about that. The other thing is an amendment to our classification and pay plan policy. So I wanted to point out 4 of the things that we were going to be making some updates there. The first one is defining a demotion within the policy. So we do actually have that listed as a classification, and we actually now list out what the guidelines are for that. So we give 7% for a promotion. The demotion will now also include a 7% reduction. Also making sure that we bring people within the pay grade if there is a demotion. We also wanted to clarify what a reclassification was. If someone has a reclassed position and there is a change in the pay grade, that will now be considered a promotion. So that was one of the changes that we made as well. If it's a reclassification and the pay grade is the same, then that will not be considered a promotion. So we wanted to make sure we spell that out. The other thing that's part of the Envision Rockdale, our strategic plan, is the use of our matrix. And the matrix allows for us to recruit and hire top talent, take into consideration previous experience above the minimum requirements, take into consideration education above the minimum requirements, as well as any relevant certifications above the minimum requirements. So we spelled out the use of the matrix in the policy as well. And then the last thing, it talks about being able to use the matrix not only for new hires, but also being able to utilize it when we do promotions. So I wanted to make sure that that was included in there. That's one of the changes to the classification and pay plan. And now we will go ahead and start with the actual market study. Excited. We can go to the next slide. Our compensation philosophy, so not going to read through this, but I do want to read the very first sentence here. It says, Rockdale County acknowledges that employees are the county's most valuable resources. So we do understand the importance of our employees here in Rockdale County. At the bottom of here, the primary principles that guide our compensation philosophy, the very first thing, identifying and eliminating potential disparities in pay. We also wanted to make sure that we pay reflective to the actual position. We look at internal pay equity within the department, so we make sure that we're analyzing when we do give increases, taking a look at existing pay grades and pay rates. And then we also want to make sure, which is what I talked about with the matrix as part of our philosophy, that we recognize and reward talent. So next slide, please. Okay, so our market study, we actually partnered with PayScale. So this was a dual partnership. As you can see, our logo for talent management along as PayScale was a three-phase process. So implementation, collecting data, taking a look at what we have in-house, talking about our methodology and our strategy, and finally coming up with an actual new pay scale, new salary grade for Rockdale County. Next slide. What we used and how do we do that? Market data, crowdsourcing, and surveys. Making sure that the locations that we looked at consisted of Conyers, Georgia, as well as the Atlanta metropolitan area. Our target was 50th percentile, and what that means is that we were looking at where are we as it pertains to the middle of organizations with similar sized companies, similar sized industries. So that's the 50th percentile target. The other thing that we looked at was specific areas. So we looked at technology services, code enforcement, animal control, engineering, water utilities, along with public safety. Public safety does include Rockdale County Sheriff's Office and includes E911 along with the fire department. We did have to do some additional adjustments because one of the things that we did was take a look at our minimum pay grade. So working with PayScale, talent management as a department, we also had to go in and look at tiered positions. So if we make a minimum pay grade $15 an hour and someone is a customer service rep 1, 2, and 3, then obviously the 2 and 3 would have to be bumped if we change the customer service rep 1. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our new salary schedule. So as a result of that, let's talk about one of the changes we did, and I just mentioned that we made our minimum pay grade $15. So with that, we eliminated pay grades 11 through 14. The pay grade 15 now becomes $15 an hour. Pay grades 15 through pay grade 22, we actually adjusted the pay ranges as a result of the new salary schedule. We also looked at our pay grades 30 through 35, and we updated those as we target and try and attract those specific departments or those specific industries, engineering, technology, as well as looking at our upper level positions. The range spread increased also between the pay grades 30 and 35. And what I mean by range spread, typically it is a 60% spread from the minimum to the maximum of that pay grade. What we've done with those 30 through 35, which again includes those technical positions, we've actually increased that pay spread to 70%. So that allows for promotion. It also allows for us to do additional recruiting in terms of attracting top talent. And we created our pay grades 40 through 43, and that is for our fire suppression. So this is the proposed new pay grade schedule for Rockdale County. Next slide. All right, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about this. I talked about the matrix, and I also talked about our new pay scale. The pay grade speaks to our minimum. And what does that mean when someone is coming into a minimum pay range? That's someone who is pretty much at an entry-level position. Your midpoint is going to be those individuals that are good with performance, they have some experience, and then once you go into your maximum, this person is typically going to be a high-performing individual. So one of the things when I mentioned about the matrix, the pay grade minimum is where we would start. If someone has experience, then they move along that pay grade. So they don't necessarily come in at the minimum if they're coming in with experience above the minimum. That's the education, the years of experience along with those certifications. So this is just an example of a pay grade where you have your minimum, your midpoint, and your maximum. Next slide. Okay, so this is the overview. Out of all that stuff I just said, this is what the proposal is at. When we did this, we looked at, and this market study is going to impact approximately 880 employees. We actually changed the pay grades. As I mentioned, our new minimum is going to be $15 an hour. We looked at compression. Compression is extremely important. Bringing people up to the minimum is one thing, but those individuals that are already above the minimum, they will receive, or we're proposing that they receive an 8% compression. The average increase for this market study was 17.26%. So I want to make sure everybody understands what that means. That's the average increase. The other thing that I want to point out, and it's at the very bottom, that employees will receive the market study raises to either the minimum of the pay grade or 8%, whichever is greater. So that's definitely different than what we did the last time. 8% is the minimum increase that people will receive as a result of this market study. So definitely wanted to make sure that people understand the differences and what that means. The time frame for this, we definitely have a very aggressive time frame. We are here today presenting this for proposal. If this is approved, Madam Commissioners, this would actually show up on employees' paycheck on April 22nd.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there employees who are not impacted by this? Because it says 880, but
It's
we have...
880, so what's not impacted, we do have poll workers, we do have some grant-funded employees that we do have to get those things approved by grant, and then we also have some on-call employees, but the minimum pay grade is $15. So anybody that is below that is included, but some of those, like I said, our poll workers would not be included in that, not our regular poll workers, but not the people that work in elections, but the poll workers that are listed on here, they would not be included in the market study. Their rates are set at a different rate through the board.
Through the election board?
Board of Elections, yeah.
Okay.
So they're not part of our regular pay scale, but this particular market study does include impact right now, 880, that's right now active, but as we hire people, we also know that it's going to impact our recruitment efforts as well with the new pay ranges. The one thing I did want to point out before we get to the actual cost, and then I'm going to bring up Director Mark Lewis, is the information. I know that we had some information that was shared from the Sheriff's Office where they had done a study and they did their ranking. So I want to speak specifically to that. The proposed new minimum pay grade for a certified sheriff's deputy is $47,361.60. That's approximately a $7,000 increase for the minimum from what it was before. When we did the ranking and with the information they provided, they were 79 out of 84. With this market study, the ranking now goes to 22 out of 84 with those departments and those counties that they actually listed. I also want to mention the certified detention deputy. The new proposed minimum for that is $42,952, and that takes their current ranking 19 out of 19 to currently, with this proposal, they will be 6 out of 19. So I wanted to make sure that I share that from a public safety perspective.
Sheriff, do you have any comments that you would like to make at this time?
Very few. Let me just first, I know this is a proposal, and I think that you are scheduled to do the voting probably next week.
Yes, sir.
And we'll tend to be at that as well. But until then, I'll just say this is a step in the right direction, as we've been speaking about for the last, I know since I've been sheriff, 9 years and even prior. And we are getting compatible to all of our colleagues that are connected to our county. And I think that this is going to help retain and hire. We plan to change our message. We talked about this yesterday. And what we have to consider and understand that Rockdale County is about a 93 to 98,000 population. Our jail is a bed space of about 740 beds, which means, you know, we generally don't house no more than 350. And so we have to make sure our employees understand that when you're looking at other agencies, those agencies are bigger, which have a larger population. Has a larger population in the jail, which means more work. And not only that, we have an incentive plan, and we also have a take-home vehicle policy, which will also help with retaining. And so for you all to work as hard as you did with myself, and I'm sure with the fire chief and public safety and the 911 director and so forth and so on, hopefully our employees see that we truly care. And not only public safety, but all the county employees, that we truly care about them. And so I want to just say thank you all for moving in this direction. So we look forward to next Tuesday, hopefully that this will get passed.
Thank you. Hold on. Fire Chief, would you like to say anything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And yes, Commissioners, I did have an opportunity to meet with public safety specifically, talk about their needs, and we heard them, and we definitely wanted to make sure that we were able to bring this before you. And I just want to say one more time The minimum increase for this market study is 8%, so everyone can understand. I know the last time we did it was a little bit different, but this methodology, you are either going to be brought to the new minimum or you're going to receive the 8% compression, whichever is greater. So that's definitely going to be to the benefit of our employees here at Rockdale County. Next slide, I do want to share the cost of this, and then I'm going to bring up Director Mark Lewis to go over this. So what we did, Commissioners, we looked at this from a remaining 19 pay periods, which is going to be that April 22nd pay date. And so the average or the estimated cost for this is roughly about $3.2 million. We do go ahead and add in benefits to make sure that we're accounting for that. Obviously, when you do an increase in the salary, that increased benefits as well. So the total cost that we're estimating or proposing for the market study is $4.5 million. And at this point, I will open it up for questions as Director Lewis makes his way to the podium.
I think the questions are going to come to Director Lewis.
Okay, thank you so much.
And so now we're on item 189, budget amendment.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have the cost of the market study at $4,512,293.48. The total cost of the judge's salary amendment is $39,517.12. The total cost of vacancy control is $2,429,709 rather, and 28 cents. The total cost of all these amendments stands at $6,981,519.88. Next slide, please.
Could you define vacancy control?
Absolutely.
I doubt if our public understands what that
Absolutely.
is.
So related to our budget for last year, let me let Executive Director Holmes come up with the definition. Eagerly wanted to answer the question.
I'm sorry, that's exciting. No, good morning again. Vacancy control, so last year as part of the budget, we had actual vacancies that we did not fund for the 2022 budget year. So what we have done, we are proposing that we do fund those positions and some of the positions for those individual departments. So public safety was one of the departments. There were several departments, but we're asking that we fund the positions that we did not fund as part of the budget for 2022. Does that answer it?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you, Director Holmes. Next slide, thank you. And so related to the cost of all of the amendments, we're going to use ARPA funds as a source of funds for this amendment. Previously, we had set aside $4.4 million, $450,500 for our revenue loss calculation. With that, we take that away from the $6 million of the total modifications, and we still have an unallocated amount that we had to reallocate some of the previous decisions of where the ARPA funds would go. And that total amount, the $6,981,519.88, is coming from our ARPA dollars. Please keep in mind that the ARPA funding is only for 1 year. Any questions?
Sure. When you tell us to keep in mind that the ARPA funding is only for 1 year, what does that mean as far as next year's budget and the millage rate?
It means that we will have to look at increasing the millage rate to ensure that we can continue to fund the positions that we are funding in this year.
And is that good practice? Do you recommend that as good fiscal practice, or how does that relate to us managing the county's money?
It relates well with us managing the county's money. When we look at the fact that we did set the millage rate back last year, we have this opportunity now to use ARPA dollars to help us really compete in the community right now for a number of positions that we need to fill. We've heard in the last couple of board meetings the needs of public safety officers, and this is a way that we can fill that gap.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams, any questions?
Well, I just think that it's important for people to understand that in the first defining philosophy of the county is that our employees are our biggest resource. And that, I think that speaks to this, you know, that that millage rate, we just need to pay for it. You know, people are funny. They don't want their taxes to go up, but they want the services. And, you know, it costs money. And unfortunately, in this time of inflation and weirdness with employment situations, we really have to do this.
And it's not just been public safety and fire, it's everybody.
It is everybody, right.
We've lost great people for planning and zoning, we've lost, I know the public defender is losing people to other counties. It's across the board, so we really do have to look at compensation in order to remain competitive.
Thank you.
I might just add one comment. In a conversation I had with the district attorney this last week, she said, you know, we can't really be competitive with the private industry,
Of course not.
but we must remain competitive with other governments. People work for government because they have a heart for that. There's a special, it's sort of like people who go into education. You know, you're not going to make as much money in education, but you have a heart for it, and you know that that's important. And I think that's what we want our employees and our directors to feel, that we appreciate their work. And we know we can't compete with the private sector, but we want to try to compete with other governments so that we could keep our good employees.
Okay. Oh, did you have?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Item 190 is an ordinance to amend the text of Section 106-1 definitions, Section 218-1 permitted use table, Section 218-13 standards of use and development, Section 222-11 parking vehicles in residential districts of the Unified Development Ordinance of Rockdale County as amended, regarding vehicle parking to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. You saw this item on your last agenda for a second read, which was Ordinance 2022-08. However, out of an abundance of caution, there was a Scrivener's error in that past one, so we're bringing it back just to make sure that we get it correct.
Okay.
Now, the next item is very, very, very exciting.
Can I
I feel
stand
like
up
this
and
is like
shout
a ribbon cutting. It is just happenstance that it's the last item, but here we go. Item
I wrote a big
191
yay on my paper when I was reading
Yes.
through it yesterday.
is with E.R. Snell Contractor Incorporated through the Transportation Department. This is for the Rockbridge Road replacement over Lake Capri in the amount of $1,725,899.90. It's for 6 months, and it's LMIG and SPLOST funds. Okay, where's the confetti?
How about this?
Yeah. All right, and
We need
Madam
every
Vice Chair?
resident out there to
Yes,
be standing up and shouting.
Thank you.
6 months. It's all on you, Director Kelly. Yeah, so we have one public comment, Madam Vice Chair. I'll go ahead and read.
Thank you.
As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the vice chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Yes, our first public comment comes from Ms. Turner, Corliss Turner. Good morning.
I just have a couple of things. The Saturday, April the 2nd event, it says Rockdale ARPA funds hard at work. I wanted to know what ARPA funds were hard at work, because anyone wanting rental or needed a rental assistance, I don't know who the chair is, but anyway, whoever wanted rental, they were giving them information and being referred to the DCA. And the DCA is the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. So there was no assistance in my mind for ARPA funds to help this. And then the COVID tests that were being given out are funded by the government, so that costs any money, no money. So what I want to know is, what was the hard work of the ARPA funds? And the other thing was the 4.4 million loss in revenue. Can I get a list of those losses or where the losses came from in writing? Or do I need to do an ORR?
I think that would be an open records request. And we'll have Director
Yes.
Lewis answer those questions for you.
Okay, so if you all can answer that with the ARPA funds, hard at work, and show me how they were hard at work, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, Director Lewis will get with Ms. Turner after the meeting and make sure that all of her questions are answered. He'll be in contact with her.
Okay, that's no problem. Any other?
That's all we had this morning.
Okay, so we'll go on to board comments, and I guess we start with you, since I'm chair. I don't know.
Oh, no.
No.
I
know how that's gonna
have
work.
ideas after you talk.
I don't have a lot of comments today.
Okay, so I'll talk about my, painting that I received this morning.
As promised.
As promised, yes. This is from Animal Services. And they have some of their residents who are also artists. And this is from Layla. And there's a picture of Layla on the back. And she's black. Some kind of bulldog, maybe? But I love it. It's the colors of my house. I told Director Morgan he must have known what colors would go with my house best. So we do want to remind people that there will be a ribbon cutting of the Animal Services on April 16th from 10 in the morning to 12. Okay. And if you adopt a puppy, you will get their art also.
Wow.
I'm excited because this week, starting tomorrow in Raleigh, North Carolina, is a NACO conference specifically on healthy counties. And Brenda Ernest, who is I can never remember all their titles, but she's on the ground with the accountability courts and working with Stepping Up, and really she provides individual services. She's going with me to learn more about what's going on in the country, and I just know we'll get more ideas on how we can improve what we're doing here in Rockdale County. I am very excited about what the sheriff's doing, and especially the mental health pod in the jail. You know, people will sometimes say to me, so are you not going to arrest any criminals if you're just going to treat everybody? Well, no, that's not the case. You know, people with violent crimes need to be incarcerated, but they also need treatment while they're in there. And the sheriff has stepped up, made that a top priority, and worked with the medical care provider, NAFCare, to assure that that is happening. They're also working on a contract to embed a mental health professional in the sheriff's office, like the city has done in their police the departments that have done that, the sheriff's offices across the country that have done that, police departments, have found remarkable success, because so many of the crises that occur are substance abuse or mental health related. And with a clinician on site, they know how to speak, they know the correct language to say to someone in a crisis. And in fact, sometimes in conferences that I've heard these clinicians talk about, sometimes the law enforcement doesn't even need to go to the crisis, to the site. Just the mental health clinician can handle it. And so I think people need to understand that first off, a small percentage of people who commit violent crimes have a mental illness. So you can't say that mental illness is the cause or the reason somebody commits a violent crime. It's like 5%, I think. However, those folks need treatment and assistance, whether they're on the street or inside the jail or the prison. And we are trying to make improvements from all of those approaches. And I'm excited about that. We just keep moving forward. Those are my comments.
My comments are brief. First of all, we did have a very successful event on April the 2nd. I appreciated it. I do know that the COVID tests that were disseminated were paid for by ARPA funds, so that's one thing I do know that happened. But it was just a great event. Our school board member, Sandra Jackson-Lett, was there as usual. She's usually very supportive of things that happen in the community. Our sheriff was there. It was just a good event. We did give out a lot of food to the community, information. I said it before that Rockdale County is a county that has to refer the people that are about to be evicted, they're referred to DCA. In the beginning, when we first got our ARPA funding, we were trying to come up with our own rental assistance program. And when we were on the phone with the members of DCA, they told us save our money and come up with a program so that we could get those the money to them from DCA because they had all the money. Well, we did that in such grand fashion that now they're using Rockdale County's program as a statewide model. So they are emulating Rockdale County all over the state of Georgia for how to get people rental assistance. And I think that speaks volumes to what we're doing with our ARPA, because the person who's doing that is paid by ARPA funds. And he also coordinated that activity, so that's two things, that the two ways your ARPA funds were hard at work, and I'm sure Director Lewis has more ways in which your ARPA funds were hard at work. Another thing, I've said it before, I said it when we were discussing the classification and pay plan and the market study. It's time that Rockdale County's employees are compensated near the rest of Metro Atlanta. And Sheriff and Fire Chief, I hope that this goes a long way in showing that we are committed to making sure that our employees are appreciated, their hard work is appreciated. But for me, it's more than just that. It's about the quality of life for their families, because I'm sure that Rockdale County Sheriff's deputies and fire personnel and everybody, their children want to play baseball or go to the movies or go have ice cream on a nice summer day, and they need to have those funds available also. So this is another one of our commitments so that Rockdale County can bring in the best talent and compensate those of us, those that work there, because we're not part of this pay class. I don't want anybody to think we are. I think that's all that I have for today, and are all hearts and minds clear? Any other comments? No. I'm not going to go through because I know we have things to do today. So if all hearts and minds are clear, I will adjourn this meeting.